Good day to you, my fellow endoskeletons. I'm Kenetor and welcome back for another Starbase progress report. We're on week 44 of 2021, and if you're new here, I bring you the latest news and updates of everything Starbase every Monday. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss out. Now let's get to it. Last week saw an update to the PTU bringing ship renaming, moon ore vein mining and moon craters to the build, as well as a whole bunch of other fixes. Although this brought a few unexpected things too. Firstly, craters would eat ships, with the majority of ships entering them completely vanishing, or sometimes leaving behind just a few parts of the ship. And secondly, the ore veins turned out to be just underground asteroid cores. Thankfully, this is just the first pass to prove that it works, and real veins are already in the works. The devs also added their first new ship since the Anubis enclosed alpha. This ship looks very much like an Ockham design with a few cues taken from Duratech. However, take this for a test drive and you will find it incredibly slow, so not something I can recommend to either new or old players. Our Lowry quotes kick off this week with casually dropping that the wiki has been updated with a work in progress guide to making capital ships for when they reach the PTU. The amazing part of this page is that some of the stuff here we haven't seen before, and some of these should have really been part of the weekly update. But fear not, I will show you anyway. First up is the capital ship durability tool, which shows, just like normal ships, framing matters. But if we tweak this image just a little, we can see what's hiding in the shadows. A nearly complete capital ship. Here we can see the yellow area on the right is several capital ship thrusters. These are very similar to plasma thrusters, and in the top left we can also see the control screens. Our next image is the new supply conduit and device dock, which were previously called supply nexus in previous progress reports. This is the first time we've seen this, and these are sized at 108 cm cross section, and the docks, that's the green bit, have a 10 meter range for devices, which is about 4.5 station blocks in radius. One of the things you will connect with these is the screens used to control the capital ships, and you can see these in range of a device dock in this example. Want a closer look? Well, we also have the station utility grid screen. This screen lets you control the power production of your capital ship, as well as let you know the status of your current fuel and propellant supplies. We also got our first look at the fast travel control screen. At the top of the screen it has 4 pages or sections to it, and my guess that this page is the system check, given the destination is already decided and there are multiple checks for devices, resources for travel, and charge status of the fast travel core. This page has been a little treasure trove of new content, which I hope you've found as interesting as I have. Larry tells us a bit more on the supply conduit too, saying that they deliver resources all around the ship or station, but player input is needed to use said resources. For example, a factory area. You plug the utility box to the factory area, and that utility box can deliver to and from the supply conduit and uses normal cables to connect to the rest of the factory. So you can use the supply conduit to deliver stuff between multiple factories, for example. There is still so much more to come for stations, and these conduits are just one of those pieces. And a lot of these things are shared with capital ships too. And one of those things that both will have is the hangar area, and Larry gives us some more info on this too, starting with answering if a ship could be moved between the factory and hangar areas. Hangar areas are still under work, but Larry would imagine that since they have limited despawning support, that despawning could be linked, and this despawning is very limited. They will later add a physical storage image to the hangar though, so it looks like the ship is parked there visually. One method of physical storage is what we have in the ship shops, which have full ships, but no idea yet on which will work in the hangars. Larry continues, full ships was the idea before launch, but launch proved that our ships are prone to all sorts of issues when left unattended, so it's much safer to despawn them and leave only an image of sorts. How far the hangars go? Larry hopes they get a ton of cool stuff, but no idea yet really. Capital ships come to PTU soon, and it's up to us players to break them for good. And if for some reason doesn't burn the entire PTU right away, we might have time for cool stuff too. This gives a hint towards the Capital's initial launch on the PTU to be a bare bones one, with no fancy features, then these added as each part is tested out. This means we may be facing a proper shakedown for Capitals, meaning that they will not hit the live branch till at least next month at the earliest. Probably just in time for Christmas holidays, giving us all the time to grind resources and the tech tree for them, as well as do all the building required. Jumping over to something coming later now with military capital ships, and Larry says they will get some sort of force field doors to keep intruders out, at least until they break the frame of that force field. However, no word yet on if this is coming to stations. Larry also gives us some update on how siege will work with relation to forces. With their siege mechanics together with station sizes and upcoming features are planned to strongly favour boots on the ground. You can bomb a station, but logistics for 1,000,000 torpedoes is much more difficult than 30 troops on the ground. Also, players are free, torpedoes are not. While not entirely free, respawning is certainly cheaper than a torpedo and requires a lot less space on board a ship. But this doesn't take into account the cost of a ship to get said players from the capital ship to the station, and we'll have to see how players tackle station sieges over time once we can do them. Larry continues that moon bases might have a bit different tactics than stations that will be interesting once we get there. He has a few ideas how to generally give a reason for ground vehicles too. Elite spaces are easier to have a lot of concrete, since they only need to have protection to one side if buried deep in the ground. He would imagine very durable SAM sites to be very tough for ships, thus boots on the ground get handy. Once again, Valkyrie is free on the moon since mining the ground gives that, so you can build massive protection at next to no cost. Sadly, until the surface deform server is up and running, we can't save any of the terrain modification needed to test attacking a ground base. But you can be sure that this will happen on the PTU first at some point. Our next Lowry quote talks about moon ore distribution, and he says the current PTU test has 3 different depth configs for ores, and that's just to begin with. There's also one distinct area which only has the rare ores. And he finishes reiterating that the current digging is capped at 125 kilometers. The moon is going to get completely poked with holes within months of hitting the live branch, but it's also very massive. So how long before it starts looking like Swiss cheese? Let me know what you think in the comments. Larry was also asked on if there will be any improvements made for visible enemy and neutral company tagging or standings in bigger fleet fight, where there is several different fleets operating under one banner. His short but sweet answer is yes, as it's much needed for the wars. I expected this to come with the company tagging system initially, but was sad to see that it wasn't, leaving the system pretty much useless. So I'm very much looking forward to this also. And our final Lowry quote is a bit of an oof, but Lowry was asked for more info on sensors like radiation, which was also on the roadmap for this year I might add. He answers, well, sensors are definitely coming, but given that he's been promising them for 2 years and they have made 0 progress with them, he wouldn't hope for very swift actions regarding them. Again, more disappointment here, since at least for me, we had been led to believe they were being worked on by at least a small team. He certainly talked a lot about their design before, but this now seems like it was more from his idea on how he wants them to work rather than any design that's been worked on. It also now makes me wonder how much more of the roadmap also hasn't been started. There's no denying that Starbase is completely behind on what they wanted to deliver this year, but it would be good to get an update to the roadmap so we know specifically what has been dropped from coming this year. While I don't mind and understand that most of the delays were unavoidable, it would still be good to know exactly what we are looking forward to for the remainder of the year. This week's gallery continues where last week's left off with yet more furniture instead of amazing stuff like capital ship components. We have even more shelf units, a 2-seater bench that looks strangely comfortable to me, and we finish with another view of the counter set, this time with a headless endo for scale. We're back once again to a full project rundown this week, so we will start the highlights with the completed features. First version of capital ships. As evident from the pictures in the guide earlier on, there is at least working capital ships on the dev branch, so we can expect this very soon on the PTU. Device and resource screens. These two were shown in the guide and will show critical resources of your capital ship. Navigation data logger is also done, so this will be a huge machine that will mark the destination location data into special chips used by the fast travel on capital ships. These will need to be flown on a standard chip to your desired destination and then flown back with the chip to be used in your capital. Moon surface deform. Both the tech and the servers for this are done, so we should see this finally enabled on the PTU shortly as well. Ore in moons is also done, as shown by the earlier image from the current PTU build. Moon mining techniques and tools. Everything is now properly configured to the correct amounts for mining the moon surfaces. Safe zone visualization. This recently came to the live branch, so you may have already seen the hexagonal pattern around stations or the starter safe zone. Easy build hall redesign. No sign on this one yet, but the new hall has been finished, so we could expect this hitting the PTU or the live branch very soon, and will add some much needed variety to the dev stations. Rotation system overhaul. The game had several different rotation systems throughout the different features, and this has now been fixed to a single method for all features. Controls guide for grabbed objects. This is a new toggleable UI overlay to show players how to rotate objects. Safe zone pop-up message. We currently have to toggle an option in the settings to let your ship out of the safe zone. This will now have a pop-up message that explains the dangers of leaving the safe zone and what game rules change once you have left, thus making sure every player understands the risk they are taking. And our final completed feature is resigning operated ship access. If you've been assigned access to a ship but didn't want that access, the only way to remove it from your list would be to contact the owner of the ship. Now it's possible to resign the access right yourself. Moving over to new features now, and we have display effects for several tools and weapons. These will enable more feedback to the player when using them, for example about ammo count and charging. This is definitely a very welcome quality of life update. Capital ship destination visualization. This will show a reserved space area when a capital ship is incoming to its destination, as anyone in that area when the capital ship arrives will be killed. The visualization should give players time to vacate the area and avoid being destroyed. Resurrection with endo kits. This will enable endos to be directly revived by others with an endo kit instead of using a resurrection machine. I'll also add that in the future it's also planned for healing to be done by using dead body parts too. And it's great the devs are slowly expanding gameplay in these areas. Paint tool modes. Have you been missing the old paint style already? Well, don't worry, the paint tool will be getting upgrades to select which area you want to paint when this is complete. Single part missiles and torpedoes. Sadly, it appears Frozenbyte are abandoning the modular design of these munitions, which means should variations of these come later, they will be completely new missiles or torpedoes, rather than just switching out the warhead for example. And lastly, a rather critical missing feature, transferring company ownership. Should the leader of a company want to quit or step down, or should your company be a democratic group, there has been no way to switch ownership to that specific person, so the devs are fixing this. Our feature videos this week are testing of the laser tripod weapon. This fires very fast and looks like tracer fire from a machine gun. Also, this weapon has a little animation on it too, which is nice to see. So hopefully this will come to testing shortly. And that's it, you're all caught up for this week's Starbase news. Don't forget to come drop by my Discord or chip in to support the channel via donor box or YouTube memberships. All my monthly supporters are listed at the end of the videos and all get access to a supporter channel on my Discord. As always, please smash that like button, share this video with your friends and faction, leave a comment with any questions you want answers to, and I'll see you in the next one. Kenetor, out.